What's up, YouTube fragrance family? Tommy with Studio Sins here. Welcome to a brand new day. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite kinds of fragrances to smell and to wear during summertime. I would say it's probably a lot of guys out there favorite kind of fragrance to smell in the summertime. They just can't really put their finger on what exactly that note is. And because of that, I feel like it's really the secret note of summer. It's like a song that you heard a long time ago. You really like the song, but you don't know who sings it. So today we're going to be talking about that sweet, honeyed, sometimes metallic, sometimes green note of neroli. And in specific, 10 fragrances that feature the note of neroli. That and more is coming your way, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. If you didn't already know this, the bitter orange tree is one of the most utilized trees in the history of perfumery. For example, every aspect of the tree is actually used. From the fruit comes the bitter orange essence, which is highlighted in fragrances such as Yves Saint Laurent's L'Homme Eau de Parfum. From the leaves, we get something called petitgrain, which is featured in fragrances like Acqua di Parma's Colonia Essenza. But the most interesting feature, or really part of the bitter orange tree, is the flower itself. So there are two very different extraction processes from which we get the orange blossom absolute and neroli. Orange blossom itself is a very complex ingredient. It can be interpreted within a very large palette of notes. Sometimes it builds on a very heady, floral, animalic note. Sometimes it's kind of a sweet baby powder, soapy kind of smell. So today we're going to be taking a look at two different kinds of neroli fragrances. Neroli featured fragrances and neroli supported fragrances. So let's go ahead and jump into this first list of 5, and I'll give you 5 examples of fragrances that feature the note of neroli. This first fragrance that features the note of neroli, I'll never forget when I first smelled it, and it is by the house of Bulgari. It is Bulgari Man Wood Neroli. This features not only bergamot and neroli in the top, but you also have a very pure orange blossom absolute in the heart. You've got a good bit of cedar, white musk, and a bit of ambergris or ambroxan to give it that kind of modern feel. One of the best neroli-centered fragrances, at least in the designer arena, out today is Bulgari Man Wood Neroli. My second example of a neroli-featured fragrance is one that I really enjoy. It's super inexpensive, and I definitely feel like it's worth a blind buy. That is Alfred Dunhill's Century. Not only do you get a good bit of juice in this really nice presentation, it's like a circle cube combination there. Also, the presentation features a magnetic lid, which is always cool to have and to own. You've got grapefruit, mandarin orange, along with a good bit of neroli. There's actually cypriol oil, which is kind of sort of similar to petitgrain. It's almost like a vegetal kind of smell. And there's a good bit of frankincense in the base of this as well. And that's where you get kind of the weight. It's a purely light summertime scent. Century is a curious fragrance. To me, it smells so much more expensive than what it is. You can get this for under 20 bucks. Definitely worth owning. Alfred Dunhill Century. Bumping up in price a little bit because it is a niche fragrance from the house of Jacques Fatt and the Fatt Essentials is Green Water. Now this is a very neroli specific. It's lightly vegetal, lightly spicy, very green. I think Red Essence calls this a complex citrus. Very nice citrus, neroli forward fragrance. A great after shower fragrance as well. Green Water by Jacques Fatt. My fourth neroli featured fragrance is a designer fragrance from the house of Alfred Dunhill. Now, this is my second Alfred Dunhill fragrance in this list. It is Alfred Dunhill's Icon. Just as orange blossom can be of varying quality, this is what I call a dirty neroli. And that dirty kind of vegetal feel comes from petitgrain. So it's a combination of neroli and petitgrain in this. You also get a bit of bergamot, cardamom, lavender, there's sage, there's juniper, there's iris, vetiver, leather, oak moss, and a bit of ambergris. Overall, one of the best dirty neroli fragrances that you can ever find on the market for the price. If you want something that's going to be neroli primary with a little bit of vegetal, you'll definitely want to own Dunhill Icon. All right, last of the 5 neroli featured fragrances in this list is actually a fragrance from the Icon collection. Speaking of Icon collection from Banana Republic, and it is Neroli Woods. As opposed to Bulgari Wood Neroli, this is Neroli Woods. Now this one is oddly named because there's actually no woods in here. Maybe a little bit of cedar in the background, but there's no really published wood in this. Primarily what's in here is mandarin orange leaf. You've got a pure neroli and then a bit of amber to darken it up in the base. So this one is what I call a pure neroli fragrance. There's no really dirty feel, dirty smell to it. It's a unisex. Again, neroli doesn't care what your gender is. It's purely neroli. It's the wonderful secret note of summer. Definitely a wonderful summertime, very inexpensive summertime fragrance is Neroli Woods Icon Collection by Banana Republic. All right, we're gonna shift gears a little bit, and now I'm gonna feature 5 fragrances that are neroli supported instead of neroli featured. Now, what does that mean? Neroli is often used to balance out fragrance features. For example, if you get a fragrance with a ton of spices, if you throw neroli in there, it could kind of soften the edges of those spices, prevent it from being super harsh. And so that's the case in several of these fragrances. The very first one that's neroli supported is a fragrance that unfortunately has been discontinued. It is by Guerlain. It is L'Homme Ideal Cologne. One of the best milky almond, lemon, mandarin orange, neroli oriented fragrances. Really one of the most refreshing summertime fragrances ever. And in fact, when I think of the secret note of summer, this is the fragrance that I think of. Obviously, nobody new is out there buying it, you know, unless they're paying ridiculous prices on eBay. But if you're unable to purchase this or you don't own it, you can actually get a decent version of this by sticking to the same line and getting L'Homme Ideal Cool. You get that same almond neroli combination in the heart. You just add some aquatic notes, a little bit of mint. That's where the cool comes from. And it gives it somewhat of a sporty kind of feel to it. Also the addition of patchouli and ambroxan in the base. If you can't own L'Homme Ideal Cologne, definitely get L'Homme Ideal Cool. The second neroli supported fragrance instead of neroli featured fragrance that we're going to be talking about is a fragrance by Versace, very popular Versace Pour Homme. One of the most bergamot, neroli, lemon oriented, refreshing oriented fragrances for men that you can wear this summer is going to be Versace Pour Homme. By the way, notice how many of these fragrances feature not only neroli, because they all feature neroli, but also some form of bitter orange. You either have mandarin orange, you've got bitter orange, you've got bitter orange leaf. In this case, bitter orange leaf and neroli are combined in this fragrance along with lemon. You've got some clary sage, mineral amber, musk, and a lot of people don't realize there's a little bit of oud in this fragrance too, and that's to give it some weight and body as well. Again, one of the brightest and most classic forms of neroli supported fragrances is Versace Pour Homme. My third neroli supported fragrance actually has orange blossom, it's got petitgrain and neroli, all three coming from the bitter orange tree. It's mostly a neroli supported bitter orange, green, and soapy. And in fact, oddly enough, this fragrance features a secret S note. By now, you probably know what I'm talking about. It is a Mugler fragrance. It is Mugler Cologne. Mugler Cologne is a fantastic, fresh, soapy, refreshing, neroli supported fragrance. One of the most that you can wear during the summertime. And I love how green this is. Like fresh out of the shower, I'll spray this on. It's one of those 3, 4, 5, 10. Doesn't matter how many times you spray it. You're not going to overdo it with this one because there's nothing in this fragrance that's overbearing. There's a lot of fresh citrus here, and primarily you're sporting just about every aspect of the bitter orange tree in Mugler Cologne. It's very inexpensive and one of the best orange blossom, neroli based fragrances with just a bit of white musk in the base for weight. Mugler Cologne by Thierry Mugler. Kind of switching gears just a bit in the middle of switching gears. We're going to be talking about a fragrance in this fourth iteration or fourth fragrance that is supported by the note of neroli to prove that neroli doesn't always have to appear in citrus forward fragrances that feature citrus or that feature vegetal. It can also be in fragrances that feature floral notes, you know, like the note of iris. Prada L'Homme Water Splash. Now, you probably didn't know this when you sprayed this on, or if you owned this fragrance, or if you're just being introduced to it. Water Splash is a very refreshing aquatic summertime fragrance. Highly recommend purchasing. Just an easy blind buy, just like all of the fragrances in the L'Homme line. This one's primarily featuring the note of iris and some aquatic notes. Another reason that I named this segment the secret note of summer is that every single Prada L'Homme fragrance actually has the note of neroli in it. What it does is it really helps balance out this fragrance and makes it a lot smoother than it otherwise normally would. Adds a good bit of citrus in there and a little bit of sweetness, and that's what really makes Water Splash a great pick for summertime. Prada L'Homme Water Splash. My fifth example of a neroli supported fragrance rather than a neroli featured fragrance comes from the house of Gucci, and it is Gucci Guilty Black. The name doesn't lend itself to thoughts of citrus and summer, but it's actually a really good quality citrus summertime offering. It opens with coriander and lavender, and then in the heart is where we get our neroli and orange blossom. Two features of the bitter orange tree in this. You also get a little bit of leather, patchouli, and cedar in the base as well, and that's where the neroli and the orange blossom is kind of like blending all of these notes together. This actually sounds like a cold weather fragrance, but when you take a look at the notes, then you realize, wow, it sounds like something you definitely want to wear in summertime. A very refreshing neroli orange blossom supported fragrance, Gucci Guilty Black. Well, that's it for my list of 5 fragrances that feature the note of neroli and 5 fragrances that are supported by the note of neroli. Kind of give you an idea of the really very important role that neroli, aka the bitter orange tree, and neroli and orange blossom absolute, the role those notes play in men's fragrance. They are fantastic, and to me they are the epitome of summertime and the best of high heat summertime fragrances. Let me know if you've got any of these fragrances and what your experience with them has been like, and if you feel like other fragrances belong in this kind of neroli or orange blossom category, let me know what those are as well. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments below. Again, thanks for stopping by and checking out today's video, and as always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow.